If you're a beginner at portrait retouching and editing, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you for making it to this video, because this is the video that is going to change your photo editing game forever. I mean, forever. As a beginner, I struggled with editing my images. You know the pain of getting images out of camera and you put them in Photoshop and they come out worse than you put them in. That was really horrible. It sucked. That is not all. Clients rejecting my work because the editing sucked. I remember refunding tons and tons of money. Dang. And the tutorials that claimed to be beginner tutorials were using a lot of technobabble, using big words that a beginner like myself wouldn't really understand. I was very frustrated. I just couldn't find a channel on YouTube or online that could give me simplified kinds of tutorials. Most of them that pretended to be teaching were actually selling their courses and action packs. It took me years and years of practice to get to this level where I get hundreds and hundreds of people in my Instagram inbox, Facebook, wanting to shoot with me and also edit their images. In fact, I'm too busy to handle the big demand. If you're a beginner, consider subscribing now, right now, because for the next 6 weeks, you and I are going on a journey of bettering your portrait editing so that you can add value to your images, grow your income as a photographer, increase your demand. I'm going to explain these ideas and techniques to you in the most rudimentary way there is. I will explain these ideas to you like I'm explaining to a 5-year-old. They are going to be typically simple. Before I dive into this, let me give you a moment to subscribe to this channel and clicking the bell icon so that you don't miss a thing. Come on, do it. Done? Great. If you haven't yet, please consider doing so. In this portrait editing video, I'm going to show you how to remove blemishes. I'm going to show you also how to soften skin, that is skin editing. I'm going to show you how to create depth and dimension within your images. I'm going to show you how to whiten eyes and teeth, remove unwanted distraction from an image so that it has that professional commercial look. You'll also learn how to color correct images. You also learn how to properly crop images in a way that a portrait creates presence. And finally, you will learn how to save images properly in the best quality there is. It is going to be quite a long tutorial. Look at this as a course, but make sure every minute you spend here is worthwhile. If you are very busy right now, I suggest you save this video and come back later, because this is the only shot you have got to up your portrait photography game. Let's get onto computer and let's do this. I'm back now on the computer. This is, like I said, a complete beginner's tutorial. I'm going to show you from the step of opening up Photoshop all the way to saving this image. Just like I told you, it's a complete beginner's tutorial. So we're going to open up Photoshop. Just like that. I'm using an old version of Photoshop. This is Photoshop CC 2014. Any version of Photoshop basically would work on these particular techniques that I'm going to share with you. And I need your maximum attention. Like I told you guys, if you're very busy, if you're going to watch this video skipping through, you rather not watch and maybe keep it for some other time, because this is going to be quite a long tutorial, because I'm going to take you through step by step of how we edit images. This is for complete beginners, for complete dummies. Now, how do we bring a photo into Photoshop? You can either double click here and then you go. The photo we are going to do is at the desktop. So it is right here and we just double click on it. And then, yes, it will open. Or you can just come here, file, and you say open. It will take you direct to, you come to wherever your pictures are, and then you say, you just double click at it and it opens. So we now have our photo in Photoshop. If you want to follow along as we edit, you click the link in the description below and get this particular image so that you can follow along. My goal here is to help you at least kickstart you on the journey of portrait photography editing. So let us dive into this. Now, first of all, we are first going to look at what we are going to do, like an overview of what we are going to do about this image. So I'll just put a new layer just up there, just as a guide layer to show you what we are going to do. So the first thing we are going to do, we are going to work onto the blemishes. Let me just get another color, maybe a red. That is, we are going to work on remove these blemishes, these pimples you're seeing all over, all this, yeah, all that stuff. We're going to remove all those pimples, these small pimples. We're going to do that. The next thing, we are going to match these skin tones. Yes, we are going to learn how to smoothen the skin. Then we are going to do a little bit of dimension, that is burning and dodging. And we are also going to learn how to whiten these eyes. Let me just show you. Her eyes are bright, but we still have to clean them up and get rid of these brownish things. And we are also going to do these flyaway hairs and also remove this background hair. Basically, we want to do a shot, like a beauty shot, a cosmetic company would take. Anyway, this particular shoot was of a cosmetic company. That's why you see it has all this much lighting. In my future tutorials, I will still also show you how to do such beauty shots with only and only 2 lights and a reflector. Yes, like I was saying, now we're going to edit, remove this flyaway hair. We're going to remove all these crosshairs and we're going to match skin like I was saying. So I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but first of all, we're going to look at the tools we are going to use. So I'll delete this. This is not really very important. So the tools we are going to use now, one, we are going to use the patch tool. Now, the patch tool is going to help us work on the big blemishes and the big pimples. Yeah, and also on these big pimples, basically, you know, if she did not have a clear skin where you have like big patches within the skin, we use this patch tool. Yeah, then we are also going underneath the patch tool. We're going to use the healing brush tool. And also we are going to use the spot healing brush tool. Yeah, these are the tools you're going to use. Then we are going to use the brush a lot when it comes to burning and dodging, and also working with layers, think what is called layer masks. As you know, Photoshop usually works in layers. It is a layer-based software. Basically, you pile. Now, if I duplicate this, so we can work on this layer and this layer. You can create as many layers as possible, but this tutorial is just going to be as simple as possible. I'm going to minimize the layers as much as possible for your own understanding. Yeah. Then we're going to use the clone stamp. Yeah. The clone stamp basically is also going to help us to work on certain parts of the face that need a little bit of where we need to copy certain skin texture and maybe paste it in some other skin texture. Basically, it just copies and pastes textures or colors into particular things. Then basically, these are the 3 tools you're going to use. Just know we are using this, and this. Then we are going to also use the lasso. The lasso is going to help us during the skin smoothening process. So just put it in your head. I just want you to cram this, that we use the lasso tool, we use the patch tool, we use the brush and the clone stamp tool. Those are the tools we are going to use. Ready? Let's dive into this. So now we're first going to work onto the removing the big blemishes. So we're going to just duplicate this particular background image so that we save a copy of it just underneath. Yeah, I'm duplicating this because in case we make a mistake on this particular layer, we have something to back up, something to restart so that we don't have to destroy the whole image. So we're going to name this as the edit. Yes. So we are going to get our patch tool. Like I told you, remember, the patch tool is going to help us remove these big blemishes, right? Okay, let's see. So I'll press, caps lock on my keyboard, because when the caps lock is on, usually the tools, you get into a situation where you don't see the tools is just showing across, but when you press the caps lock button, the tool will show. So we're going to first come and patch these things away. So you make sure you have source, selected and active, and we're going to just come. What you do, you just circle the dark spot and then just move it to a nearby place, and we are done. So we come still here, we do the same. You just make sure you just circle the pimple and just move it to a close by place that doesn't have a pimple. You do that and then you fetch a place. You circle that and then you fetch. Basically, we are just fetching like that, You just circle and then fetch from a close by area, just like that, One thing you should avoid doing is fetching from these bright areas. It leaves ugly marks, and we don't want that. That's why you have to get it from around the same area with the same lighting and same everything. Yeah, just like that. This just helps us get rid of these big blemishes, like the big pimples. Now, like here, you just keep it around that particular area. All these, the big, I think now we know how we use that. So the next thing we are going to do, we are now going to remove these small pimples. When you look at this image, they are not really clear. They are not very clear. So what do we do in order for us to see every pimple that is on top? You come just right here, you see, if you're not seeing this particular layers panel, you come here, you come here into window, and then you make sure you click onto layers so that this particular panel is shown. Or if you're not seeing all these panels, you come here at Windows, you say Workspace, and you say Essentials Default, so that your Photoshop is reset with all these particular palettes present. So in order for us to, I'll just pull this here so that it is, let me just close this so that we don't get confused. We just remain with our layers panel because that is all we need. So we are going to remove the small blemishes. So we want to make them very clear so that they come on top. You just come here and then you create a black and white layer. And then you just crush the red. When you crush the red, every pimple is going to come on top. Every ugly stuff is going to come on top. See how it is? Just right there. And it also helps when you're using a very bright skin, rather a very bright screen. Like laptops usually have very bright screens whereby you barely even see the pimples. Somebody just shines onto these screens. So this helps you to bring all the pimples and all the ugly stuff on top. So we just come back. We're only using this as a guide. You just come back to the edit layer and you come below this and get the healing brush. And then you press the Alt key down. You press the Alt key down with this. Yes. You press Alt and then you click down to choose a particular spot that has no pimple. And then you just come and begin brushing off this. Just like that. This helps us get rid of the big. So still you come, click, and then you press the Alt key and then you go on Pressing the Alt key as you click helps you select a place with no pimple and then covering it with that. Though, if you're doing really very fast edit, you just come and use the spot healing brush. So we just come and for it will just use what they call the content aware system, and it will just pick out all that it can without you having to select. Basically, it is the Photoshop thinking for you of what to place there. So you just come and the one tip I would want to give you as we're doing this, your brush is supposed to be at least is supposed to be bigger than your problem. Am I making sense? That if I'm working on a pimple like this, maybe the pimple I'm working on is this one here. If I use a very tiny brush, I won't get good results. So in order for me to have it covered, it has to be at least slightly bigger than the pimple I'm trying to cover. Yeah, hope that really makes sense. So we brush it off. I'm going to run the video first. Yeah, so that it is not so long again. I know I promised it will be long, but okay. And I'll come back when I've finished removing all these. Now there is this hair we are seeing here. I'm just going to have to come and get this off, yeah, and then just get and then just do that. Still that, like all these flyaway hairs. Now like this, just come and do that. Get rid of that. Basically, we want to remove everything that seems to be ugly. Also these, like, what we're doing, why we do all this at the very start is because when we get to skin retouching, we don't find a lot of problems. Rather, skin smoothening, we don't want to find a lot of problems of us overly smoothing the skin out because we are trying to cover up certain things. Yeah, so we do the groundwork here so that we try to maintain as much skin as possible in the final image. So the messy work is all done here by us first cultivating and removing all the big stuff. You know, let us see. Remove all that stuff, all this. Okay, so now at least we have finished doing that. So I'm going to get rid of this black and white layer. Yes, now we have removed all the big pimples and flyaway hairs. You know, that is the before and this is the after, before and after. So now the next thing we're going to do what they call shaping her face. Yeah, so we're going to use the liquify tool to shape her face, not to deform her but to pronounce certain parts more than others. So how do we do that? You come here into filter and say liquify. This is a bit advanced. This is really optional if you're doing portraits of, say, old people, but this is a model. It's a cosmetic and a makeup kind of picture. That is why I'm taking on this particular step. So we come and, you know, just push using this tool here. You come and just push slightly for us to straighten the jawline just a little bit. I mean, you don't want to overly do it. You know, you want to have this jawline really passed in my opinion, so much like that. You don't want to overly do it. Then the next thing we're going to give her a little bit of heart-shaped lips, a little. And when you look at this, I don't like the way the lips are shaped here. So I'm just going to still come with this tool. And if you're not seeing all these tools, you make sure the advanced mode is selected here. So you just come and you pull this down and just want to get rid of the folds, and then raise this just a little bit, and then so I'll just pull this just a little bit down so that we give her more of heart-shaped lips. Yeah, like that. So this is what we've done. We have shaped her face. You can see the change is not, the goal is not to change her, but the goal is to have her looking more beautiful and more, flashy in a particular way. So the next thing we are going to do right now, we are now going to begin doing the actual editing. Actually, this is the actual start of the editing. So we're going to merge these layers. How do we do that? We're going to press Ctrl, Shift, and E for you to merge. If you're using Apple computer or Mac, you press Command Shift, right? Rather Command Shift and E, to merge these layers so that we have them all in one place. So what we are going to do next, we're now going to do what we call skin smoothening. We are using a technique called frequency separation. Now, I'm just going to go a little bit into explaining what frequency separation is. Now, frequency separation is a technique professional photographers and retouchers use to edit most of the images you see in Cosmopolitan, the images in Elle, images in Vanity Fair, those superstar images of the Kardashians, the Beyoncés, and all those people. It is the technique they use. Now, here I'm just going to introduce to you, to give you a brief introduction of what it is and how it works. Basically, frequency separation gives you an opportunity to separate the textures. When I say textures, I'm meaning the pores, I'm meaning all these eyelashes, the hair, and all that. So you put the textures on their own layer, and you put the colors, these are the browns, the whites, the reds, and all that stuff. You put all these onto their own layers. Basically, you work onto the textures as textures and work onto the colors of the images as colors. That is how frequency separation works. Now, this is where I need your maximum attention. You're going to follow along. I want to basically hold your hand and let's walk this journey together, right? By the way, if you've not yet subscribed, take a minute and subscribe before we head to the next step. Let me give you a moment. Just click that button below there. Done? Awesome. If you've not yet done, okay, you should consider doing so if you don't want to miss a thing. But anyhow, let us continue. Now, what you're going to do, you come, duplicate this layer twice. Tit. Now, we are going to rename this layer. We're going to rename this as tones. And we're going to rename this as textures. Now, here is how it is going to be. Now, when I say tones, I mean the colors, the browns, the pinks, the whites and all that. And when I say textures, I mean everything that you're seeing around. You will forgive me for repeating myself because I know I have a huge number of people that follow me that have never used Photoshop. Most of the people that follow me are beginners, so I have to cater to them. This tutorial that is not dedicated to masters. It's not dedicated to people who already know what this is. This is a complete beginner's tutorial. That is why I'm taking everything very, very slow. So now we are going to subtract the textures from this tonal layer and have them all into this upper layer. Let me rephrase this. Every texture that is in this particular tonal layer is going to be subtracted off and put into this texture layer. Ask me how. We're going to come and first unsee this, remove the eye from this, the eye icon, and select the tonal layer. So what are we going to do? You come here at filter, you say blur, you say Gaussian blur, Now, this is where I need your attention, and this is where most people mess up. This is where most photographers, most retouchers mess up. I don't want you to cram digits. I repeat, I don't want you to cram digits. I just want you to understand how the technique works. Now, everything that you blur out in this particular layer will resurface in the final layer. So what do I mean? Every texture you would want to retain in your final image, at this particular stage, it should be blurred out. Yeah, but you don't want to take it overboard. You don't want to take it overboard, because remember, if now I blurred it out in this particular way, basically you're telling the computer, you want the Photoshop, that you want to retain everything. No, we don't want to retain everything. We want to have these skin tones more even and more precise, So, but again, maintaining these textures, these beautiful textures in her skin. So we are going to come and blur it out, in a way. Now, you see, I'm still seeing textures that I would really love to maintain. I'll just take it still a step ahead, just a little. Yes, I think that's it. You don't have to blur it out in such a way that you lose all details, So I come on, I still have to blur it a bit because I'm seeing some skin textures that I would really love to see in the final image. So I blur it out again more. Just a little. Yeah, I think that is my sweet spot. Why? I don't want you to cram digits, because when you cram digits, you may end up using these digits, because this picture was shot with a 46 megapixel camera, so it is quite big. Most of you may be using starter cameras that have maybe 12 megapixels, that have maybe 21 megapixels. So depending on how close the image is to the camera. Now, this is a close-up shot. It needs its frequency is its blur amount of light is very, very different from what would be required on an image that is a medium shot. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Am I? Right. If I'm making sense, that's it. Let me rephrase this again. Now, this is based on how much pixels a particular image has. This is now too overboard. When you look at it, it is not overboard. It is going beyond the normal numbers because the image itself is big. It is heavy. For those of you who have downloaded it, I guess when you zoom in, you realize that you can even have a portrait of just the eyes alone. So I'll just come here and say, okay, let me reverse this. Everything you want to blur out, everything you want to retain in the final image has to be blurred out in this. Yeah. So we shall say, okay. Then we come and select the texture layer, turn it back on, and then get image, apply. Remember, we said we want to subtract the textures, or rather to snatch the textures off this tonal layer. So how are we doing it? We said snatching textures from the tonal layer. So let us come and select tones here, because that is where we want to snatch the texture. So how do we snatch it? We're going to snatch it by subtracting. We are not going to multiply. So we are subtracting the textures from here. Remember, the textures we blurred out. Now, those textures are going to be subtracted from the tonal layer and put onto this layer. You come here and say subtract. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So if your image, I know your image may be black right now and you are wondering, why isn't mine black? Look at these particular digits. You're going to put a 2 here at scale and put a 128 at offset. Leave this at 100, leave everything as is. Okay? Make sure invert is not selected, and then you come and say, okay. So the next thing we are going to do, we are just going to come here and say linear light. So when you look at this image, it is not different from our background image. Let me just put these in a group. Now, when I click the before, and after, you realize there is no change. Yeah, yes. The difference between this image and the background image is that this image has been broken down, has been separated in two different frequencies, you know. Now, it is like us separating oil from water, having water to be in its own. Okay, look at it this way. I'll put it this way. Water is made up of, is it hydrogen and oxygen? Now, just imagine we put hydrogen in its own box and we put oxygen into its own box, you know. And yes, it will, if we put those boxes together in a room and put water this way, definitely the other one would be the components of the things in the hydrogen and oxygen boxes would be similar to the components of the water that is combined. The only difference is that the other ones have been separated. This is what we have done here. You know, look at it as separating a song, separating the instrumental from the vocals, and you have the vocals as vocals and you have the instrumental as an instrumental. So we are assuming these are the vocals and this is the instrumental, and this is the whole song that has the two of them combined together. Hope I'm making sense right now. Yes? Cool. Now let's continue. Now we're going to begin working on the tones. Yeah. I stay in a noisy neighborhood. That's why you hear a lot of banging. I don't know whether it is coming through, but nevertheless, let's continue. So you're going to come here, select the tonal layer. Just make sure this is at 18. We feather this at 18 because we want actually our actions not to leave trails behind of brushes. So the next thing we're going to do, you just come right here and select that particular part. You come into filter, blur, Gaussian blur. The reason as why we are using Gaussian blur is because you want now to have the skin tones, yeah, more precise, and we want to have them match. We want to have them, you know, evening out. We are basically removing blotches, yeah. So you just come and increase the texture until you see the skin smoothening. My other advice is you don't have to stay so close to the computer. You need to stand a little bit back so that you get an actual feel of how it would look like in the final image. So you do it. When you take it overboard, it is going to give you that flat look, and we don't want to go back there. So we want it to do it in such a way that we still maintain the dimensions. Yeah, look at that. We still maintain the dimensions, but again, getting the skin smooth. So we shall keep it around there. Okay. So the next thing, you come also this side. You select, and then you press Ctrl F to repeat the action. Yeah. Like the last filter you put there, if you want to repeat the same action, you just press Ctrl F. If you're using a new version of Photoshop, you press Ctrl Alt and F in order for you to repeat the action. Let me just say this again. Now, every last filter you put in, now this is the shortcut. For my version of Photoshop, you press Ctrl F, but if you're using a newer version of Photoshop, you press Ctrl Alt Shift F in order for you to repeat that particular action. You come, select the forehead, just like that. Okay, you still come, do the same. When you look at me at this, you will realize that I'm selecting particular parts according to shape and how the light is affecting those particular parts. Yeah, that is some other thing you have to note. Now, this is now a highlight. These, I usually love giving them like a different kind of frequency. I'll come here into filter and say blur, rather a different blur. I don't want them to be this flat. So I usually back it off just a little bit, just to leave that illusion of a textured skin, because when light hits a subject from the side, usually we ought to see texture in that image really, in that particular section. So we just come here and select that and still press Ctrl F. We come also here, select. So this, we're going to go back to the other frequency. You come into filter, blur, and then you say Gaussian blur. We want to see, when you look, she looks like she has a mustache. I don't know whether you can see it on screen, but we want to even out those skin tones and the like. So just like that, we even that out. I still come here. We do that. Still, we come here. We do that. Now, I want you to look at the way I'm going to do the jawline. Most people take the frequency of the jawline overboard in that it flattens out this. We don't want to flatten out this whole thing because this jaw usually protrudes out. So you come into filter, blur, and you say Gaussian blur. If you take it overboard, it is going to flatten out. We don't want it to flatten out. We still want to keep that shine, that glow of it, you know? So we just come and give it its own blur. Like, I think that is okay. I still have the shine on it. Like that. We come, press Ctrl F. So now the nose. The nose is also another part where people mess up so much. Now, you don't have to select it like this. You'll get a flat thing. You don't have to select to make a selection like that. You end up getting a flat shape. So you still have to make a selection that goes with the shape of the nose. Of course, you have to put the lighting in that particular place into consideration, just like you see the way I've done. If you're selecting highlights, you do the same thing. The same applies to this side. I'm also going to make a selection of that kind. See? Okay. Now, basically, it is about keeping the shape of the nose. We shall come here and say Gaussian blur, and then put it back to 0. And then we first see that it doesn't go out of distortion just like that. Now, we don't want to lose out on the depth of, the shadows it is giving us. So we just come and just a little, we don't want too much really, just a little bit, just bringing the tones. I in fact, just push myself a little far away so that I see, the little difference it has. It doesn't have to be much because remember, we are protecting the dimensions and depths of the whole face shape. Right there, and then we press Ctrl F. Remember, we don't want to lose the highlights and the shape of the face, so you press Ctrl F on that. So we also come and work onto these particular parts of the eye, like that. Press Ctrl F, like that, and then boom. Now, look at that. We have actually moved a step, I'm feeling you're already getting excited. You feel like the best editor in the world, I'm sure right now, yeah? The goal is to take your editing to the next level, I hate seeing people suffer when they have the brains, they have the equipment, they have the skills. All I want for you guys is to be successful. I want you to make money out of your crafts. I want you to get demand. I want you to get more customers for your businesses. The goal is to help you get wealthy by improving your skill, right? Let us do this. Now, let's do this. Right here, we select this. Set filter, blur. Still Gaussian blur. We are giving these different blurs because we don't want to take it overboard. Yeah. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Yeah. Now, let us look at the before and after, guys. Yeah. This is where we are. That's the before. That's the after. Before and after. We have smoothened the skin out. we have removed the blotches and everything. And yes, we have something really quite interesting. Now, when you look at this particular image, when you look at her face, yeah, and look at this, it is, the colors are different because the makeup artist is not apply foundation onto the lower parts of the neck. So I'm going to show you how to match colors. This same technique can be used to people with dark knuckles. It can also be used to people with certain parts of their faces having dark blemishes. There are two ways. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come here into the tones layer, and below it, we're going to come and get this under the here adjustment layers, and we're going to get what we call curves. Yes. So this is what we're going to do. We basically want the neck to match the brightness and the tones of this. So we're going to work, one, on the colors of the neck. Two, we're going to work on the brightness of the neck. So let us first work. We are only focusing on the neck here. Let us first work on the brightness. Just focus on the neck. Yeah, on the neck only. Yeah, let us brighten it up. So let us close this. Yeah, let us name this neck color match, just for our understanding. So you're going to select this layer mask, make sure it's the white that is selected, and press Ctrl-I on your keyboard or Command-I on your keyboard in order to invert the layer mask. Now, the way layer masks work, I would create a different tutorial completely explaining layer masks and how they work. But for now, I just want you to follow along. Just click that and press Ctrl-I or Command-I on your keyboard, just like that, in order for us to take control of where this effect is going to go. So we're going to come here. I'll get our brush tool. Like I told you, it's the brush tool we are using. And then make sure it is in 100. And then we are going to make sure it is white that is on top here. If it is not white that is on top, you press X on your keyboard. Yeah, so that white gets on top. And then we begin painting over, just like that. Yeah, you don't have to worry about the upper part. Just paint over. We shall come and correct the thing. Yeah, so we're going to come back with white, and then we just actually paint over again. Let's reduce the opacity and flow. Like that. Just like that. We come here. Okay, let us look at what we have. Let's see. That, yeah. Now we have a challenge. Like the colors are not really matching, yeah? So what do? We come here still into the adjustment layers. You come at 2 levels. So what we're going to do, we want this effect just to be applied on this lower thing. So we're just going to click here and create what we call a clipping mask, so that this effect only applies to this. Yep. Okay. So you just come here into layers, you select the blue channel, and then just bring it a little bit. Yeah, we don't want a lot of blue there. Then we come and maybe add in a little bit of yellow, by not so much, a little. I think that is fine for now. So we're going to come and just clean off the edges by using a soft brush. Yeah. So basically what we are doing, we just want to, just make sure it is white that is selected here. We are still selecting this right here, and then just come and paint over the edges. Yeah, so that we bring back a little bit of the shadows right there. Yep. I think let us see the before and after. That's the before, that is the after. Before and after. So we have now finished using doing the skin tones and, you know, editing all that. So the next thing we are going to do, we're just going to come and edit some bits of the things on the texture layer just up here. So you remember the black and white layer we created to guide us. Now here it is going to come back. You come here and say black and white, and then we're going to crush this right there so that we bring every detail on top just there. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're just going to come get our clone stamp and then just make sure it is current layer that is selected, opacity 100, flow at 100. So you press the Alt key down and then just come and Alt and click to select. Alt. So you Alt as you click to select a part that has no pimples, then you click at the part that has pimples. So basically that is how it works. So we come and remove all these particular pimples like that. I mean, I just want, if you're a beginner, I think this tutorial is just going to take your work to the next level. It's just going to help you better your work. I mean, you don't want to be despised in the field out there when people, you're even charging them. You don't have to be now scared of charging what you're worth because of lack of knowledge on editing. This right here is a life changer. Once you master this, my recommendation is watch this video more than 10 times so that you master everything that I'm teaching here. 10 times is just enough for you to become awesome at it. Basically, I want you to watch it in that you can stand up and give a seminar about frequency separation and portrait retouching, because this is your life changer. The question is, what are you going to sacrifice in order for you to make yourself better, in order for you to get what you want, you know? So we are doing like, this is basically, it is a crash course on high-end retouching. Like, most people are wondering why I'm giving out this knowledge for free. Man, I didn't grow up from the richest family, but understanding and learning these skills really turned me into a better person, and I feel obligated to help somebody out there. I don't know who needs this, but man, I just want you to, you know, to look back at this. My goal is not to help everybody. My goal is to help that person that really desperately needs to change their life. You know, if at least I can get one person remember my name out there, that I contributed towards their success, that is my only goal. That is my only intention, man. Because I know how it feels like being broke. You know, the only thing that can help you is your skill. The only investment you can put into this is your skill. And I would love to congratulate you if you're still watching this video right now for giving this time, because your life is not going to be the same after this video. It is not going to be the same. This is a skill that is going to change everything for you. And my prayer is that you use this skill, as much as you can to the best of your ability, to also help other people change lives, because the pictures we take here really help lots of people change the way they perceive themselves. What we are selling esteem, confidence, you know, self-acceptance and all that stuff. We are selling a feel-good attitude to these people. Yeah. Okay. Now I think we are done with working on the textures. Let us undo this. Yeah. Now we are done with the textures. So the next thing we are going to do right now, we're going to create what we call dimension within the image. How do we do that? We do that using burning and dodging. Yeah. So this, we're going to name this skin. So now we are going to create dimension. How do we do that? We are going to use a technique called burning and dodge. Dimension, when you look at this image, it really has a flat look. Let us look at the before. When you look at the before, it has a bit of depth to it, but when we applied the frequency separation, it somehow flattened and we lost a little bit of contouring in the whole image. So we just come here and get what we call curves adjustment layer there, and let us put them here. And then we're going to pull these down right there. We're going to pull that down like that, and we're going to come and name this burn, and we're going to press Ctrl I in order for us to invert the layer. Then we're going to come still into the curves adjustment layer, and we pull this up right there, and we're going to name this dodge. Okay, and we press Ctrl or Command keyboard to invert them. Now I would explain this to you in, like I'm explaining this to a 5-year-old. Now burning is basically darkening. Then dodging is basically brightening. In the days of the darkroom, when an image was overexposed or an image was shot with a lot of light, they used what they call burning by exposing it for a longer time under that light, so that the image somehow burns out to bring back the exposures. But if the image was underexposed or shot in darkness, they used what they call dodging dodging, that is exposing the image under that light, exposing actually the bromide paper under that light for a very short time, so that it is not overly, so that it is not overly developed. So though it was developed halfway. I don't know whether I'm making sense, but basically when you're in Photoshop, you're into an old school darkroom, but this time on your computer, Photoshop is a darkroom. This is where we come and bring back all the exposures. But in this particular case, we're going to take advantage. We are going to just bring back depth and dimension into that particular image. We want the image to have a 3D kind of feel, right? So let us just put these in a group like that, and then name this B and D for burn and dodge. Burn and dodge. Yeah. So what are we going to do? First of all, I'm just going to create a help layer to show you what we are going to burn and what we are going to dodge. Yes, just for your guide and why we do this. Yeah. Okay. Are you following? Say yes if you're following in the comments below. If you just comment with yes, I would know that you're following. So where we're going to burn, let me use blue just to indicate the parts we're going to burn. Yeah. Now we're going to burn. Let me just get a bigger brush that is, like that. So we're going to burn. Let me just get the opacity. We're going to burn over the edges. Yeah, these particular edges. We're going to burn around that area just to create contrast between the highlight and this. Yes. Then we're going to burn around this area of the nose, since it is popping out. We're going to burn around that area so that this particular cheekbone really pops. Yes. Then we're going to burn just slightly below here. We're going to burn around the eyes so that we emphasize the mascara and that. I don't usually burn the eyebrows. Reason being, I usually love the eyebrows a bit bright. Yes. We're going to also burn around that area. just a little bit, so that we get contrast between this highlight and this highlight. Yeah, then we're going to burn over the edges here, though they are already underexposed and the like. So then when it comes to dodging, let me use red to indicate the dodging. We are going to come and dodge over here. Yeah, we're going to dodge over the forehead. Basically, we are dodging everywhere that light hit, where light seems to be emphasized. We're going to slightly dodge over here, also here. We're going to dodge over here, you know, and maybe on top of the hair. I have a full hair tutorial. I'll leave a link up there so that you see how we edit this, because I don't want this tutorial to be so long, you know. So those are the parts we are going to burn and dodge. Okay, let us roll. I'll delete this. That was just for our guide. So let us come. So you come here, and then we reduce this, and then also come and put this to 10. So we are going to take a slow process. You get the brush tool. We make sure white is on top, and then we're going to begin burning. Let us begin from the edges. So we paint over there. Right there, we burn. Still right here to create depth. Right here. Make sure you're using a big brush, because the goal is right here still. See how, let me just show you. See the before and after. See how we are bringing back dimension into her face. Yeah, we still come here, right here, and then we burn around that area so that we give that jawline a bit of dimension. We come here, burn around here. Still, you have to follow the shape. When you look at the way I'm moving the brush, it is following the shape of the particular part I'm editing, right? I mean, you cannot begin burning now the nose taking the brush in this particular direction. No, that would be very, very absurd. Then reduce the brush according to where you're editing. Then you come, we burn the mascara zone. And this also helps to make the eyes pop, you know. I know you're not going to have the best results for starters, but practice and practice. And I would advise you watch this video more than 10 times if your goal is to become a master at this. You know, more than 10 times. Put this video on repeat, watch it. And you know, when you wake up, watch it over and over again, so that, because every time you watch it, you will learn something new. There are certain things I really can't explain with words, but by you watching it over and over again, you will just realize how I do this, you know. And by the way, I'm not using a tablet. I'm editing all this stuff using a mouse. Yeah. So you don't have to say that I don't have a tablet. I'll be honest with you. I tried using a tablet, and truth, it didn't really work for me. I was very, very slow at it, because I'm being a street guy. My editing started with a mouse, and to this date, I'm still using a mouse. Yeah, so right there. So let us look at the before and after. This is the before, the after. Before and after. In my opinion, I feel I need to burn this more. Since I have this highlight here, I feel I need to burn this particular side also more, so that I get that balance, you know. As we have a strong highlight here, I would love to have a strong shadow just around there, so that I create that kind of depth, you know, into the whole scene. So I'll just burn around that area. Basically, it is that simple. Like I told you, the goal here is to help a brother. The goal here is to help a sister out there that is really struggling financially, that is struggling with their photography business that wants to get their photography business off the ground. That is my main goal, is to help you grow as a person. Man, I know what it feels like being broke and what it feels like having equipment, but you cannot get out even the best images out of the equipment you own. Man, I know how it feels like. So I feel your pain, brother. I feel your pain, sister. So let us walk this journey together, you know? Now we're going to dodge. How do we dodge? Remember the parts I showed you? Let's begin with the nose highlight by just painting over on top there. And don't take it overboard. Don't take it overboard. And over here, right there. You're going to come also. When you look at this particular part, it has a highlight, just a little. So you come also here, you dodge. Also here, you come here, you come here, right there, we dodge, let us dodge around here. Everywhere you basically see light, that is where you try to dodge for reasons of emphasis. Here, let us try dodging this particular part of the eye because usually it has a bit of a highlighter and it usually bulges there. Let us try dodging over here, like that. Over here, the lip highlight. There. I have a full tutorial on how to edit lipstick. I'll still link the description up there. So let us look at this, my good people. See that? Look at that. See how we've created dimension in this image effortlessly. So the next thing we are going to do, I'm just going to show you how to whiten eyes in the easiest way. This is not the best way, but this is the easiest way. Since it's a beginner's tutorial, I'm just going to give you the easiest way. So we shall come, press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E, to create, I usually call it a screenshot, but my brother called Innocent usually corrects me on that. It is not called a screenshot. Okay, I don't know what it is called. I forget what it is called, but I've created a screenshot of this, and we're just going to get a color replacement tool. Yeah, just here. I usually love doing this on the pixels and move on to the next stage. So what we're going to do, you come and press Alt on your keyboard and select the whitest part. Yeah, by pressing Alt, you're selecting a color, and then after that, you come and just paint over. Make sure you don't paint over the parts that are supposed to be pink. You only paint over the parts that are white, supposed to be white, like that. How simple is that? I mean, done. That is, I'm done with eye whitening. So the next thing we are going to do right now, we are just going to go and do a little bit of color correction. It is not really going to be a very complicated process. I'm still going to make it very, very simple for you guys. So let us do this. We come here and select, say selective color. Make sure the reds are selected. So what we're going to do, we're just going to come and add in a bit of cyan, just there, cyan. Then you come, put out a bit of, let's see. No, we don't want it. Do we want it so warm? Yes. Since we put some cyan there, but I will just back it down just a little bit and also back down the cyan a bit. You can copy the same dimension, the same digits I'm using here if you are following along. Usually for the yellow, it depends on the white balance of the camera, but this is where I usually white balance. If I want whites as whites, I'll just pump down you know that, but that is not what I want right now. I only work on the skin tones when it comes to this, and those are the reds. That is why I come to this particular panel. Now that is done. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to go on to one of my favorites. Yeah, this is, before we go on to one of my favorites, let's first create like that high-end look, high-end look that those Vogue images usually have. They use what they call a gradient map right there. This one helps create a mood for the whole image, a general outlook for the image. So basically it tells you that I want the shadows to be in these particular tones and I want the highlights to be in this particular tone. So you come here, this side is for the shadows and this side is for the highlights, right? So you come here and say, usually I love my shadows being into this kind of turquoise kind of feel. So I just come and choose a particular shade from here. If you want, you can just copy this color code, this 0222 EE, and just type it in that particular thing. If you want to get the exact coloring, then you just come here also in the highlights and then you select. I usually love my highlights being in this milky kind of red, this kind of stuff like that. Then I say, okay. So I'll come and just reduce the opacity of these two, depending on how popping you want it, but we want it to pop a little. So I'll keep it at around 12. Like, see the before, see the after, but it has now, we have a challenge. It has that kind of color cast on it. So what we do, we come here and turn it, the blending, we change the blending mode to color. Then we get our curves adjustment layer just like that, and then we begin playing with it. You create a point here at the shadow end, yeah, right there, and then just slightly pull it down just like that. Then you create a point at the highlight zone and then pull it like that. So we come here into the yellows, rather the blues right there. And then you come into the center of this and then you pull all the blues out so that we give it that warm kind of, you know, that warm cinematic look. Yes, that. You don't pull it so much down. You pull it a little down because you're just, yeah, cheating through it. Okay. Now, the next thing we are going to do right now, we're just going to add in a little bit of vibrancy. Now, this is optional. You really don't have to do this. I love colorful images as a person, but basically we are done with the image when it comes to the general editing. I know I promised to show you how to remove all these unwanted stuff. That we are going to that step, but this is optional. So I just come here into I just come here into adjustment layers and just say vibrancy and saturation. So, did I say, no, I didn't say saturation. I said vibrancy. Okay, let me just delete this. I don't know what is making me happy, but I feel happy that you've got to this level and I would love to congratulate you, but nevertheless, let us continue. We come here and say vibrancy. So I just come and just make it pop just a little bit. Now, vibrancy, the reason as to why I'm not choosing saturation is because vibrancy is like, look at it as a clever way of saturating an image. Here, the colors come off vibrant, but without crashing. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Now, that's it. So the next thing we are going to do, let us put all these in a group and we name this color. Yeah. Now let us see. That is the before. That is the after. Before and after. So the next thing we are going to do, we're now going to remove all this unwanted stuff. This one here. Yeah. Cool. Control Alt. You press Control or Command Alt Shift E to create a screenshot. Yeah. So we're going to come here and then just select around this. Oh, now how to use the pen tool now, I don't know. You click over here, you click at a point, you come and click at the next point. Don't let the mouse go. You still hold the mouse button down and then just roll and move it around. You know, we don't want to just like that. You go to another point, do the same. Now, in order for you to go behind, you just go back to that point, press Alt, and then click back so that you erase that particular point you don't want, like that. Then press Alt and click back to let go of that. You still come here, do the same, press Alt, click back so that you get rid of that and that. And then we shall bring it closer here, right there, over the edge, right there. So we just come and select all around and make selection, just like that. So we're going to get our clone stamp, get a big brush, and then you press Alt, you Alt click in a plain place, and then just come and brush it off. Like that. Just brush it off like. The reason as to why I didn't take it to the actual edge of the hair is because I want to maintain that particular depth, yeah, that particular imprecise, imperfect feel on the edges. Now, when you look at the edges are too, they're too straight. So here, this is where I just get this black wool end. Just blur them off. I'll just come and increase it. And I just blur the edges just a little bit. Just increase it. There is a better way to do this, yeah, but I'm using this just because it's a beginner's tutorial, but there is a better way to do this. As a beginner, I'm sure you just want something that is going to fix you. Let us patch this away. You know, something that is going to fix your photos as of now. Yeah. Oops. Let us just see. Right there. Let us undo this. So I'm just going to duplicate this. Because of this edge, yeah, it doesn't look nice to me. I'll just come duplicate this and get filter, blur, and we say Gaussian blur. I'm just only looking at this edge, yeah. I just want it to be like that. Then I'll just create a layer mask just right next to it, and then press Ctrl I to invert it, and then I'll just come with my brush and then just paint white over it. Let me just increase the opacity and flow here. Then just paint white over the edges and also do the same over here. Yeah, just to get it blend in with the background. Yeah, I think that was the only escape route. So I think that is that for this tutorial. Now, the next thing you're going to do, let me just show you, I had promised to show you guys how we are going to crop this image in a way that creates presence. Yeah, so let me just put all these in a group so that we see where we've come from. Now, that is the before and this is the after. Before, after. Then we're just going to crop now this image in a way that makes it more present. So how do we do that? You crop. Let us put, depending on the dimensions you really want to crop this, you can put if it's for print, depending on the size of the image. But for now, we're just going to do free cropping like that. Now, when you look at this particular line, the way now by default, this is staged in what they call the rule of the thirds. Yeah, where you have this separated into 9 different squares. Now you want your golden section to be at a point of where these points really meet. Yes, but here is the thing. Basically, the way the rule of thirds says is you imagine that your golden section or whatever is you want people to see lies within where these lines meet. That is where you place your main subjects, or at these lines, So what do we want to see? We just want this line to be in the center of her nose and the like. So how do we do that? Yeah, we can just come and maybe say we shall do it that way, so that we have this line just positioned in the center. It dissects her face, because the way this rule works basically is it is like where you want humans to see first. Humans perceive things that are aligned in this particular way more beautiful than things that are not aligned in this particular way. This is a science. I will do a tutorial or a video that explains these dimensions, but we shall keep it at that. I'll leave this as the breathing space, and then I'll just press enter for me to crop. Now you might be wondering, why are you leaving this white thing down here? Okay, let us remove that. Ctrl-Alt-E for a screenshot. And then we're going to come and say filter, say liquify. So we have opened the liquify panel. So we just come, still get our brush, make sure the advanced mode is selected, and then we shall just get a big brush. And we just pull this down here. Just pull it out. It's at the edge, that's why I'll just also pull this away. Let me just pull this also down a little, so that she doesn't have Hulk Hogan shoulders. Those shoulders of Hulk Hogan? I don't know that he still has them. And then we say, okay. Now, let us save this image, right? You press Ctrl-Shift-S to save as. Let us rename this as edit. And when we save it as a JPEG, and then we put it at the desktop and say save. And then here we want to save it as to its maximum, so that no pixel is lost at all. And we say it is going to be 16 MB as a whole, and we say okay. I think that's that. We've finished saving our image. Now, if you're a beginner photographer, I guess this has worked for you. And in the comments below, I would want you to tell me what has been the most amazing part in this particular lesson, and let me know of what you think. And share with me some of the challenges you're facing with your post-production and editing, and I see whether I can do tutorials for them, or maybe build a full course that can help you better your photography game. Remember, the whole goal is to help you grow your photography game so that you earn money, you get a living, you earn a better living out of your talent, out of your skill. My goal is to harness you with that photography editing skill. Like this video, share it, and guys, subscribe. It would be very, very nice if you left me a comment, because it helps this channel grow and also the YouTube algorithm to rank it. I would be super grateful. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in my next tutorial, and adios.